Hey, what's up? Welcome to Mixed in America, episode 1, titled This Ain't No Intro, This the Entree. That's a line from a Chance the Rapper song, but I'm titling that because I want to jump right in the main course. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on introduction. I want to jump right into things. My name's Josh. You can't see me right now, so if you don't know me, I'm mixed. My mom's black, my dad's white. I grew up just outside Minneapolis, the city right now that's literally on fire after the death of George Floyd. There's been the protests that were peaceful, and then the rioting and the looting. And my wife and I just went down there on Saturday to help with some cleanup. And honestly, we didn't even do a lot because there were so many people out there trying to help. And it was honestly super encouraging to see, even though there was obviously destruction and pain, I had hope for my city because the community showed out, and the people that live there and the people that live just outside came together to reach out to this community. I went with a group from my church, but we went and helped out at another church. There's a church right there in North Minneapolis, a sanctuary church that's been a part of that community for a long time and been helping the community, and they know what they're doing. People in the community already know them and trust them and already come to them when they need help. So we just partnered along with them. It wasn't just our church, but I saw at least 3 other churches or people from at least 3 other churches that I knew that were also there. So it was really encouraging to see the community come together, the church come together, and not be divided by their church or this church, but to really be the church of the Twin Cities in Minneapolis and come together and help the community out. It was encouraging, and there was honestly too many volunteers. Like I said, I didn't even get to do that much work because there were so many volunteers and just a lot of people out there. And hopefully you've seen it. You've probably all seen the images of the city burning and of the looting and the riots and things, but hopefully you've also seen not just the peaceful protest during the day, but also see the next day people come out with brooms, like literally thousands of people, too many people to actually have stuff to do. Just super proud of my city, the way that they've come out, different, all sorts of colors and creeds, and old and young, and churches and non-religious, and just so many different people coming together, and it's just been really impressive. I've been really proud of my community, of my city, of my state, and of the church. My church, yes, but the church. My church being the Church of Christ, not just here in America, but specifically in the Twin Cities and surrounding area, the suburbs, coming out to help as well. It just was really encouraging to see, but in this chaos, and obviously the terrible wrongdoing that happened in my city just this last week, and seeing the chaos that has ensued afterward, it's really made me think a lot more, even more than I already do. If you're not biracial, you don't realize, you may not think about race that much. If you're black, you think about it probably more, or any other, race, Asian, Hispanic, whatever it is, you think about race more than if you're white. But really, if you're biracial, you think about race all the time, because not only am I the only black person in a group of white people, I'm also usually the only white person in a group of black people. I don't know which way I said that, but not only am I, I'm always the odd person out. I'm always the minority in every room I've ever been in. I'm either the only white person in a group of black people or the only black people in a group of white people. So that's just my reality. So there's never a place where I'm like, okay, I'm good now. I'm with my own people, except for my family, to be honest with you. The only time I've ever been in a room where the majority are mixed people is with my own family, because I got 3 siblings that are also mixed like me. And then obviously my mom's black, my dad's white, so I don't want to say cancel each other out, but we got 1 black person, 1 white person, and 4 mixed people. So there we go. That's the only time, I guess, that I'm ever not the minority in a room. But so I think about it a lot already. I have a lot of thoughts, opinions, things that I think that are on my heart. But this last week or so, I'll say there's been a lot more conversations. Obviously thinking a lot more about it, but also a lot more conversations with different people, white, black, and everything else. And that's good. I think that's important. I think that's one thing that hopefully comes out of this, is that we have more conversations. So I hear a lot of people, especially white people, saying, what can I do? My opinion, I think the first thing you can do is have these conversations, and not necessarily to talk, but to listen. I'm not saying you should debate or argue, especially not on social media. I don't think that helps, but to have conversations with people that don't look like you and really listen to their story and hear their struggle. And even if it's, you can disagree about politics, you can maybe disagree even to the extent of racism in America right now, but you can't disagree with someone's story, with how they feel, with what they've experienced. And so truly take the time to listen. Find someone who doesn't look like you, talk to them about it, and really take the time to listen. When I say talk to them, I mean ask questions. I don't mean go in there as some suburban savior, some white Jesus trying to tell them that this is how they should behave or this is what they should do. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to listen, to have a conversation and truly listen. And so that's the first thing that I guess you can do. That's a free one. I'm not even necessarily trying to tell you things that you can do, but if you're wondering, then that's some things you can do. But I've had these conversations, including one that I had that blew my mind. And it was a conversation with my wife. And my wife is white, if you don't know me. Yes, I fell in love with a beautiful white woman. I used to get this question in college. People, when they found out I was mixed, they would say, well, do you like black women or white women? And I'm like, seriously? Like, that's a question? Like, I literally have no preference. That's a whole other thing. We'll go on this another time. But yes, I did fall in love and marry a white woman. So it wasn't intentional. It wasn't like I was out there looking for a white woman, but the woman I fell in love with happened to be white. So all that to say, I was having this conversation with my wife, who is white, and she said something that kind of blew my mind. She said that she never had black Barbies growing up. And she was kind of surprised that I was surprised. But I was like, really? Like none? Like you didn't have any racially diverse Barbie dolls? Like, I don't know. I thought it was crazy to me because, like I said, I'm mixed. My mom's black, my dad's white. So we always had white and black G.I. Joes and action figures. My sisters always had black and white Barbie dolls. Like that was not... never a question. That was never a thought. It was just, G.I. Joe made, Sergeant Stalker was his name, I think, was my favorite one. He was black. Flint was one of the guys. He was white. General Hawk, I think, was a white guy. So there was different characters. Some were black, some were white. Like Hardball, I think, was one of my favorite ones. He was black, and I think he was like a baseball player. Like that, the G.I. Joes that I grew up with, my dad's G.I. Joes were all like actual like army people, right? The G.I. Joes I grew up with were, they all had like a character and a story. Sub-Zero was like an Arctic, I don't even know what you would call him. Like I don't know how these guys all work together. I remember him having like black and white camouflage, like the Arctic kind of camouflage. And then there was like a desert guy that had like the tan camouflage. And then, long story, I'm way off track. But I always had both. That's what I'm saying. I remember my sisters distinctly having black and white Barbies. They had two different Kens. I remember this because the white Ken looked like my dad. He had that plastic hair. My dad's hair wasn't plastic, but he had that really generic like swoop to the side thing that white people have. The white guys do. He had that haircut, but it was plastic. And then they had a black Ken that had like a little mini fro and a Cosby sweater, which maybe that was kind of racist in and of itself, but I remember distinctly him having like a colorful Cosby type sweater. I don't know why I remember that, to be honest with you, but I do. But when I thought more about it after this conversation with my wife, my family was, and I always tell people that on Christmas Eve, Jesus and Santa are black. On Christmas Day, Jesus and Santa are white. Because in my family, we went to my mom's side Christmas Eve, celebrate Christmas, open presents, and then Sunday, Christmas morning, we'd go to my dad's side, which is the white side. And so that's just how it was, right? So I didn't think about the fact that my guess is, and I don't remember distinctly because I was pretty young at the time and honestly didn't really pay attention to that sort of stuff because color, race didn't really mean much, didn't really matter to me growing up. Again, I'll talk more about that later. In a different episode, but right now So I'm guessing that my G.I. Joes that were black and my sister's Barbies that were black came on Christmas Eve from my black family. And my G.I. Joes that were white and their Barbies that were white likely came from my white family. So I don't think there's necessarily inherently anything wrong with that, with being white and getting white toys, being black and getting black toys. I think that's a normal thing. But I didn't really think about that before. And so it kind of surprised me, especially knowing her family. I know there's not a racist thought in anyone in her family. I know that she was raised right to love all people, regardless of the color of their skin or really anything about them. I know she was raised right, correctly, not white. She was raised white, very white, but she was also raised correctly. That's what I'm saying. Make sure that's distinction is, I'm not saying she was raised white, even though she was, but she was also raised correctly. Sorry, distracted again, but I want to make that clear. She was raised correctly. She was raised by a good family, but even then, they didn't think about getting her racially diverse toys. And so I just thought that was interesting and kind of blew my mind. Like, I didn't expect that, but that's the reality. So maybe that's the second thing. If you're white and you're asking, what can I do? How can I help heal America? Another simple, easy thing you can do is buy your kids racially diverse toys. It sounds weird saying that because I never thought that was a thing to even have to say until this conversation the other day with my wife. And that was her point, was she was bringing up that somebody had said that, and she thought that was a great idea because she only had white Barbies growing up. I don't say only, I'm sure she had some other stuff too, but like, she didn't distinctly have like black Barbies and white Barbies. And so that's something that you can do. If you're white, don't only buy white toys for your kids. And if you don't have kids, nieces and nephews, make it a point to buy them racially diverse Barbie dolls and action figures. Little white kids can play with Black Panther toys too, right? If a black kid can grow up with a Batman action figure, why can't a white kid grow up with a Black Panther figure? Anyways, so yeah, that's another free one for you, something if you're white people looking for something to do. But that's the way I grew up. That wasn't even a thought. That wasn't even an issue. Race was not an issue growing up. And, my mom was black. My dad was white. I knew that their skins were different. Their skin was different color, but I never really thought about them as a separate race. My cousins were all sorts of shades of black and brown and white. And that's just the way that I grew up. I'm going to talk more about that in my next podcast. I think next week, that's what I'm going to talk about, is tell you my story, tell you truly what it was like for me growing up mixed in America. In the part of the country that I live in with the family that I had. I want to share my experience with you so you know where I'm coming from. But that'll be next week. And like I said, I truly believe that my family, that I grew up proper, that's the way that you handle race relations. And I've always thought I had a good perspective on it because of the way I grew up and the things that my parents taught me, but also because, like I said, I got literally a foot in kind of both camps here, being black and white. I have a lot of thoughts about it, like I said, and a lot of things that I think are good and could be helpful. And I think I have a lot to add to the conversation, but I've always been hesitant to speak because I'm not that dark. Again, you can't see me right now, so if you don't know me, I'm pretty light. And in fact, most people that meet me, I'll say most white people that meet me just assume I'm white because my skin is that light, especially in Minnesota winters. My wife and I just moved back from California, and I forgot how white I get in Minnesota winters. We lived in San Diego the last 2 years, and the sun is shining every single day in San Diego, except for like maybe the 2 or 3 days it rains, but the sun is shining every day year round. So I got used to being consistently tan. But right now I got a little bit of color. Last couple months have been pretty nice in Minnesota, but usually like in March, I haven't seen the sun in months, and I'm just the whitest you can possibly be. And still be mixed. But white people they just kind of see color of their skin. I don't mean that in a bad way, but they think a lot of times they say all black people look like, because they look kind of at the color of your skin. They don't look at the features. Most black people I meet, in fact, I think probably every black person I've met could tell that I was mixed. My nose shape, my bigger lips, whatever it is, I have attributes that kind of look black. So even when I get real white in Minnesota winters, I still have black features. But where was I going with this? What was I even saying? So I don't look that black. So I've always been hesitant to speak up because I don't know if people care what I have to say, if my opinion matters much to people that are like real dark and truly black and have that struggle of getting pulled over because of the color of their skin. Because I don't think I've been pulled over a lot growing up, especially when I was a teenager. I like to drive fast. I've been pulled over a lot, but I don't think it was ever because of the color of my skin. Maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe in August, if I get pulled over, it was I look a little bit darker. But so I always thought like I didn't have enough to contribute. But I just decided now that I don't care. I don't care if anybody listens. I don't care if anybody cares. If people think I'm wrong, if people think I'm right, it doesn't matter. I just got this stuff in my heart and on my head that I want to share, and I'm going to put it out there. And if nobody listens, that's fine. I'm going to keep making them, like I said, at least for a while, because I want to get it out there. I feel better when I've, released it and thrown it out there, and hopefully somebody stumbles across it and it helps them. But I'm going to do it anyways. If you don't want to listen, you don't have to. That's fine. I know, especially right now, everybody has a podcast. Like, it's already was kind of a joke that, like, just start a podcast and everybody does it. And even more so during this coronavirus quarantine thing, the stay-at-home order, people not working, not going to church, restaurants and bars closed. People have had a lot more free time. So they're like, oh, let me start a podcast. Or they think everybody has free time, so they're going to want to hear what I have to say, so they start a podcast. So maybe I'm not that original. Maybe it's going to get lost in the sea of all the podcasts out there, but I don't care. I'm going to put it out there. And I don't know how well it's going to do. I don't know how long it's going to last. It's going to last at least a few episodes because I got quite a bit to say. Each one is going to have a different topic. Something like next week I already said is going to be my story. I'm going to share my experience growing up mixed in America. Talk about identity issues, especially being mixed. Let's talk about white privilege, the black community, police brutalities. I want to do interviews with different people, some that look like me, some that don't, people that are blacker, whiter than me, just to have these conversations, because you can argue with, I guess, facts or opinions, but you can't argue with your story. You can't argue with how someone feels with what they've experienced growing up. So I really want to share those experiences, even if I can convince my wife to be on. She's white, like I said, but I'd love to have these conversations with white people as well, because I think that's important. I feel like white people don't feel like they can contribute anything to the conversation. But I'd like to hear more about her story growing up. She actually, a long story, I'll let her tell it maybe if I can convince her to be on, but she grew up with Mexicans all around her growing up. So she has a different perspective. Like ever since she was like a little kid, there's always like older Mexicans around. Again, I'll let her tell it. I'm not going to go into that right now. But I'm going to post these every Monday. Looks like, I don't know, we're less than 20 minutes now. They'll probably be about 15 to 20 minutes, a little longer than I normally like to go for these things. But again, I got a lot to say. So put it on while you're driving to work or doing the dishes or whatever it is. Maybe while you're at work, have it on in the background. Just share a little bit about my thoughts and feelings about all this stuff, about race specifically. If you guys watch my videos, I post every Wednesday. Those are about sports. Those are about, those are a little bit shorter, or hopefully trying to be shorter. I try to go under 5 minutes with all of them. Some get a little bit longer, but those will still be happening on Wednesdays. Those are videos you can watch. But this is going to be a little bit longer form, more discussion, especially when I bring other people on. I feel like the conversations might get a little bit longer. But I think it's important to have these conversations, and I think it's important to contribute our stories, but it's also important to listen. And so I'm going to be contributing what I have to say, my thoughts, my feelings on race relations. And I'm going to tell you what it's like for me, what I'm thinking during all of this time being mixed in America. So thanks for listening. Join me next Monday. Hey, thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you did, can you do 3 things for me? Can you like the video, subscribe to my channel, and tell your friends?